My dad passed away 2 weeks ago. Before the funeral, my husband, who has always had issues with height, he's short, asked if I was going to wear high heels. I said yes because those high heels are the only pair of shoes that I have with black color to fit my outfit. He tried to get me to wear other shoes, but I refused and gave him the explanation above. He ranted about how worried he was about people seeing him with me and me looking taller, basically the same OL rant. I used to suck it up before, but this time I said no. He said he wouldn't attend the funeral then. I was shocked. I called him insane to miss the funeral over such reason, but he seemed upset and said that I was the insane one for refusing to compromise to make it work. We had a huge fight and he ended up not going. We're not talking to each other as of now, and his family think I was stubborn and should have compromised if I really wanted him there. I met my girlfriend on Tinder and we were not exclusive to begin with. We get along great and I thought we had a future. She got pregnant and we were kind of excited to start a family. When the baby was born, it was very obviously not mine. I did not sign the birth certificate. I also did not break up with her. But I also told her that I would not be making myself financially responsible for the baby. We had planned for her to take a year off work to be with the baby. She had already taken her maternity leave. I said she needed to go after the father for child support. She didn't want to because they were friends. I said I understood, but then she had to take full financial responsibility for the kid. I would help her with all the child rearing, like changing diapers and feedings and the like, but not for paying for any of it. She agreed. She ran through her savings in about 6 months. She talked to me about helping her with baby formula and stuff, and I said no. That isn't our agreement. She called him and asked for money and he gave her a few $1,000s to pay for baby stuff, but told her not to contact him again. That is when she understood their friendship. So she went after him for child support. His fiancée found out about the whole thing and is thinking of breaking things off. The child support is enough that the baby will be well taken care of and will not affect our finances. He called her crying because we FD up his life. He said that I could easily afford to take care of them and that I'm an asshole for dragging his life through the mud. She feels terrible about it and blames me for not just stepping up and considering her a single mom. I love my girlfriend and the baby and I have no problem raising the baby. But I don't think I should be held financially responsible when the father has resources and tried to evade responsibility. Am I the asshole? My wife and I live in at a suburban house with our daughter. Our neighbor next door, Walter, is a single father with 2 daughters. We have been living here for a little more than 2 years. My wife really likes watching scary movies, but I have never enjoyed them. I get too scared and end up having a bad time, so I prefer to avoid them. Her friends sometimes go with her to the more popular ones, but she also likes older, indies and foreign horror movies. She has always had a hard time finding people that have this niche interest, and that is why it was such a big deal when we met Walter and found out he also shares this tendency. They very quickly started to make plans to watch movies together. I was invited to be a part of this but refused. I prefer to just stay at home babysitting Emily and Walter's daughter while they are in their cinephile reunions. Sometimes they go to movie theaters, but other times they just stay at Walter's place watching stuff at his home cinema. They usually have to go to another town in order to catch a specific function of some weird movie, so it is normal for them to come back very late. They eventually started doing stuff outside of watching movies, like going out for dinner. Walter invited all of us, including the kids, to go with him to a restaurant that a friend of him owned, but I said no because it was too expensive. I don't like that kind of places because I feel they are a waste of money and didn't think the kids would enjoy it either. I insisted on staying with the kids and let the 2 of them go be themselves. This has become a regular thing, and it is in a way a good deal for me because Walter pays for my wife's dinner and she can't no longer complain about me not taking her to fancy restaurants. As both their movie and dinner nights have become so common, I have grown a little tired of the burden of constantly babysitting the girls. I talked to my wife and Walter about it and he explained that he usually does not like leaving his daughters with babysitters. He says he is really comfortable knowing that they are being watched by an experienced father like me instead of some teenage girl. He nevertheless agreed that it was too much of a load for me and offered to start paying me a standard babysitter fee each time he goes out with my wife. I thought that was a fair approach to the issue, but my wife was fully against it. She says I should not be paid for babysitting my own daughter nor the daughters of a close friend of our family like Walter. We have been arguing about this, but she insists on this notion and it not open to change. She even gets mad every time I talk to her about this. Walter promised me that he will convince her, but he does not seem to have been able to do so either. Am I the asshole? My ex-wife, Natalie, and I had an amicable but not loving marriage. We had 2 children, Michael and Lily. When Michael was about 10 years old, she and I saw that we no longer had romantic feelings, but a beautiful friendship. But for reasons at the time, mainly our children, we decided to continue the marriage until our children left home. Basically nothing has changed on a daily basis. We were still the same couple as always, but we didn't force something we didn't want. When Michael moved away for college and home permanently, at age 19, we decided to make the gradual move and finally make our divorce official. Michael didn't handle it well. For months he tried to convince us to try couples therapy, intervention, that it was a bad phase in the marriage and not to sign the divorce paper until we were sure. We explained together, separately, that it wasn't a bad phase and that we stayed together for the good of the family only, etc. Over time, he conformed, but hasn't accepted until today. I am currently married and so is Natalia. We have a great relationship and often spend Christmas and New Year's together with our children. What happened? Michael is engaged to Liam and we recently had dinner with him, his in-laws, fiancé and Natalie to celebrate the engagement. Michael still has a habit of making spiteful comments about the divorce and how traumatizing his parents' experience of getting divorced was. Several times, I said that this was something that hurt us to hear, because above all, my ex and I cherish that our children don't suffer from our decision. During dinner, we were talking to his in-laws and they asked how long we'd been apart and how good we had a relationship, etc. Michael at some point said, "It wasn't such a good thing for the family. It was a traumatizing experience to see your inspiration as a couple break up and your family fall apart." To say that Natalie and I were embarrassed that he said it in front of his in-laws is not necessary. I had my limit and I said, "Look, Mike, I understand your feelings, but it's been 9 years that your mother and I haven't been together and you didn't even live with us during this process. We are already in another moment of our lives. I think it's over time to get over it and turn the page." He was quiet and stayed that way for most of dinner, saying only what was necessary. Later, I got a text from him criticizing me, saying I should respect his feelings and he was just venting, which was a valid thing and I shouldn't say that in front of his in-laws. Am I the asshole? My fiancé, Dan, has a daughter that we will call Nia. He was obviously very young when he had her, so his parents took care of her. Her mom is not involved in her life. His parents and siblings dote on her and gave her everything she wanted, therefore she turned out extremely spoiled. 2 of Dan's siblings voluntarily shared a bedroom so that a baby could have her own room. Now that we want to move in together, Dan insists that Nia must come with us even though Dan's dad is the legal guardian. I have no problem with Nia living with us. I think we get along just fine. However, we were planning to buy a home and Dan insisted that we must get Nia's input as well. Nia looked at the home and asked if there are only 2 bedrooms in our home. We said yes. She asked us if we are planning to have kids together. We told her that she knows that we do. She said no thank you, I'll stay with my grandparents. Dan freaked out and asked her why. She said she doesn't want to share a bedroom with someone. Now my fiancé says he won't move in with me unless we find a bigger home with more bedrooms because he won't go anywhere without his daughter. We can't afford a bigger room, so this way we won't be able to move in together for who knows how long. I was furious. I told him his daughter is spoiled and he needs to parent her better instead of doing whatever she wants. He called me an asshole for insulting his daughter and is giving me the cold shoulder. This evening, I made a scene in front of my husband's family while they ate dinner at our house. My husband's family came over for dinner the second time this week. They were also over last week and the week before. Typically, I am not consulted on these visits, I am just informed of them, sometimes with little or no notice at all. The visit 2 weeks ago had 30 people, this one I had lots of notice. Last week was 15. During these previous visits, I feel I was a good and welcoming host. I made food, cleaned up, made conversation, etc. This afternoon, I was exhausted and not feeling well after a really busy work week and sleep issues. My husband and I have a young daughter who also came home from daycare coughing. We've been dealing with bouts of sickness plus some really big transitions in the last few weeks. Around 3 p.m., my husband informed me that family members were coming over, 6 in total. I told him I wasn't feeling well and was upset he didn't ask me about it before confirming. I was also upset because we had only had one dinner together this week. The previous night he had been at a work dinner and was over at his dad's earlier in the week, plus we'd already had the family. He initially disregarded me and left the room, but he later apologized and reassured me that next week would be quiet and we would spend time together and I could just be upstairs tonight and not have to worry about cleaning anything up. Plus dinner was taken care of already. I had an early dinner with my daughter and put her to bed at 7, which is when his family showed up. I stayed upstairs in bed initially but went down and briefly explained I was not feeling well and our daughter was sleeping. However, there was a lot of noise with kids running around who woke up my daughter, so I went down again around 9. At this point, my husband was slurring his words drunk because when he gets together with his dad, they drink. When I realized he was slurring his words, I lost it. I asked him to stop drinking, in front of his family, because he would be grumpy and hungover the next day. I told him I was tired of it and tired of cleaning up after everyone. Honestly, I can't remember everything I said because I was raging, but I do know that I didn't swear or yell, though I was raising my voice. I told him that his behavior was unhealthy and that it was not okay. I basically had a heated argument with him in front of his family, clearly making them feel uncomfortable. But they also knew I was sick yet stayed until after 10 p.m. while the kids ran around making noise. They stayed late earlier in the week too and at that time didn't offer any help. My husband and his dad are both passed out now. The other family and kids have left. I'm embarrassed that I lost my composure, but I am also just so fed up. I feel knots in my gut and guilt for not holding it in. But I feel like I've been holding a lot in and I couldn't contain it any longer. I get married to my fiancée in 2 months. I originally wanted to plan my own bachelorette party, but my maid of honor insisted that she wanted to surprise me. I said okay, but let her know what was off limits for me: strippers, alcohol in huge quantities. I don't drink and I get really anxious around people who drank a lot, because they make me uncomfortable. Like a few glasses of wine or beer at fine with me, but drinking until you pass out is no for me on such a day. Embarrassing games were: I have to kiss strangers or similar things. I just wanted to spend some time with my friends, eat yummy stuff, make something fun, like an escape room or climbing or wellness, and just have a nice time. My maid of honor told me her plans, and these plans include drinking a lot, like playing drinking games while we are going around the city, and some games I am definitely not okay with, kissing strangers included. She said she told me to make sure I will know what is coming and that I probably will change my mind and like it. Because it's a classical thing to do on bachelorette parties. I firmly denied changing my mind and told her that I will not attend if she stays with these plans. I want to have fun with my friends, not scraping someone's puke of a hotel bed, and I certainly don't want to embarrass myself in public by kissing strangers. She called me ungrateful and stuck up for not wanting her classical ideas. Our friend group is divided. Most people agree with me, but 3 friends are on her side saying that I just have to grow up and that it's ungrateful to demand change or not coming to a party organized for me. Am I in the bad here? I grew up in Jersey and am a huge Birds fan. I promised my son that if they got into the playoffs we would go this year. I bought my tickets as soon as they sealed home field advantage. Son was very excited, though we are going through an issue with him texting me back, so I was a little irritated at his response. My boss is also an Eagles fan and he offered me 5 times as much as I paid for the tickets. I could not help but sell them. It's just way too good of a deal. My son's mom just called me saying I broke his heart again. I tried to call and text him to explain my side, but he's not taking the call. One hand, I'm a responsible adult who recovered money I spent that I didn't really have to spend and got a little extra. On the other hand, I'm a deadbeat father who constantly disappoints his kid. Am I in the bad here? My wife, daughter, and I live in a 2-bedroom house. Currently our daughter sleeps in our room. My wife and I both work from home and we each have some additional space for our home offices. My wife suggested turning my home office into a play space for our daughter. I suggested sectioning off part of our full basement as a bedroom for our daughter. Our basement is large, has windows, no issues with dampness/mold etc. My wife thinks I'm the AH for putting our daughter in the basement. Ida. Edit. Sorry for the confusion, I didn't mean we should put our daughter in the basement now. I meant in the future as an option for when she's no longer sleeping in our bedroom. Edit 2. The basement and my office are the same distance from our bedroom. They even have the same number of stairs. Edit 3. The basement is safe, lots of exits at ground level, low radon levels, no mold or dampness, electric furnace, not gas or oil. If anything, it's safer than my office, which is upstairs. Edit 4. Please stop assuming and ask for info. I would obviously never put my daughter in danger. I would finish the basement before I put her down there. And radon is a concern, which is why we had it tested, had mitigation installed, and continue to test. JFC, obviously I wouldn't put my daughter in a position where she would be exposed to unsafe levels is radon. Edit 5. Our house has a weird layout. It's a large 2-bedroom with 4 toilets, a main floor, with the master bedroom, a full basement, and a small upstairs with a studio and guest bedroom.